Not too long ago, I was at a crossroads, facing a moment that I thought was going to define my future. Everything I'd worked so tirelessly to build and everything I'd sacrificed was coming crashing down in an instant. I woke up to thousands of messages, missed calls, negativity flooding in from all directions. People I knew were questioning my integrity, my business, my reputation. And for a brief moment, I thought that was the end of the road. But here's the thing about life, it doesn't end when you face setbacks, it doesn't stop when things go wrong. No, this was just the beginning of something else, a new chapter, I didn't see coming. So instead of letting this situation destroy me, I chose to rebuild. I decided that this was an opportunity to reinvent myself, my approach, and my mindset. And that's exactly what I want to talk to you about in today's episode. I'm here to share my story of resilience, not just about bouncing back, but about growing stronger, smarter, more determined after a fall. So if you're facing a setback right now, or if you're going through a challenge that feels insurmountable, this episode is for you. You're going to hear about my mistakes, the toughest decisions that I had to make, the hard lessons that I learned. But more importantly, I'm going to share with you how you can turn your biggest challenges into opportunities for reinvention and for your own strength. So let's dive in and get to work on how you can turn your struggles into growth. Let's start with something that's been a game changer in my life, the art of the comeback. Look, we all know life is going to knock us down. There's no doubt about it. Maybe it's a job loss, a business setback, a relationship problem. Or maybe it's even just a moment where everything's feeling off. It's easy to think that it's the end of the road. But let me tell you this, it's not the end of the road. A comeback is so much more than just getting back on your feet. It's about rebuilding. It's about coming back stronger, smarter, and even more resilient than before. So whether you're going through a setback right now, or whether you're struggling to figure out how to rise out of a bad situation, the key is understanding that a comeback means coming back even better. So let me ask you this. When something knocks you down, how do you feel? Do you feel like giving up? Do you feel like you can't bounce back from the hit that you've just taken? Look, it's okay to feel that way. That feeling, that's the first step. That's acknowledging the struggle. And for me, resilience has always been about mindset. It's not about ignoring the pain or pretending that things are fine. It's about looking the struggle in the face and deciding to move forward. Even if you don't have all the answers, even if you're still hurting and trying to work it all out, it's choosing to move forward, which is the key to that resilience. So look, here's the biggest takeaway that I'd like you to get from this. Resilience isn't about being perfect. It's just about finding the strength to keep going. Even when everything's broken, each failure, each challenge, each obstacle, it's just an opportunity for us to grow stronger. And I want you to know this. If I can do it, you can do it. So I'm going to tell you how I turn my own setbacks into a comeback. I faced a massive public scandal, and the entire world was questioning my integrity. Thousands of missed calls, thousands of messages. But instead of letting that define me, I decided to face it head on. I took responsibility for clearing up the confusion. I spent days returning calls, addressing the problem head on. And sure, it was painful, but it also opened my eyes to something very powerful. Your comeback begins when you choose to face your adversity and you choose to move forward no matter what. So I've got a question for you. When was the last time you faced something that really shook you to your core? What was your first reaction? Think about it. Did you let it stop you, or did you start figuring out how to overcome it? All right, let's talk about failure. Yeah, I know. It's something we all try to avoid, right? But here's the truth, right? Failure is not the end of the road. In fact, it's just the beginning of a new chapter. And why is that? Well, because when you learn so much more from failure than you do from your success, you learn what works, what doesn't, what to improve. And so here's a little exercise for you I'd like you to do. Think about the last time you failed. Big or small, doesn't matter. What did you learn from that experience? For me, it was a moment that threatened everything that I'd built. As I said, my reputation, my business, everything was on the line. And what I realized was during that time was that if I let this outside noise define me, if I let this scandal define me, this fake news, which turned out to be proven with Peter Schiff winning a defamation case, I'd never make it through, but I chose to face it. Instead, I called back every single person. I cleared up the confusion. I addressed the crisis. I addressed the chaos. Was it easy? Absolutely not. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But here's what happened. I learned who was truly with me and who wasn't. That was a huge turning point. So what's the lesson here? Adversity shows us who we really are and who's really in our corner. It's these tough moments that help us see the truth. And when we're able to get through these, it strengthens us for the next challenge, the next chapter. Now, I want to know, when you face adversity or a challenge or a problem, do you lean in or do you run away? Can you look at your challenges as opportunities to learn? Because that's the secret. The magic happens when you choose to act, when you choose action to move forward. So let's talk about reinvention. This is something I've had to do over and over again in my life. Reinvention isn't just about changing your business or strategy. It's about transforming who you are from the inside and the out. Reinvention is messy. It's uncomfortable. But it's also the key to long-term success. I've had to rebuild business multiple times, whether it's due to losing everything or facing financial difficulties, or more recently, legal battles. But every time I've learned something new. Have you ever had to completely change who you are? Have you ever faced a moment when you hit rock bottom and you have to decide to reinvent yourself? So for me, reinvention came when I realized something really important. It's not the challenges that define us, it's how we choose to confront them that makes us who we are. The key to reinvention is accepting that you're not perfect, but you are willing to evolve. And it's through that process and that you develop new strengths and new strategies. And that lays the foundation for your future success. So what if I told you that reinvention doesn't have to take a long time? It's about now. It's about a complete overhaul of your life or your business. And it starts with small intentional changes that you can start now. It's those tiny steps that add up to the massive transformation that will come over time. So think about this. When you decide to reinvent yourself, what's the first step that you can take? Don't worry about the destination. Just focus on the first steps and let those little steps lead you to the next ones. Let's get deeper into something that has been absolutely crucial for me on my journey. Mindset. Your mindset is the force that propels you forward when everything else feels like it's falling apart. It's how you view adversity around you that makes the big difference. Have you ever been in a situation where everything seemed to be going wrong? Maybe it was a personal crisis. Maybe it was a business failure. It's so easy for us to say and think this is the end. But here's the question. What if you could choose to see it as a turning point? What if you could reframe that? And instead of that challenge being a challenge, it's an opportunity to grow stronger, to grow smarter, and even more resilient. So that's exactly what I chose to do. And every time I face adversity, I don't run away. I try not to run away. We're all human. Instead, I lean in. I see the setbacks as a chance to learn, to grow, and to become better. It's not easy, but if it was, it wouldn't be worth it. The truth is, the action is where the change happens. You can believe all day long that things will get better, but nothing's going to change unless you act. So what's the first action you can take today? It doesn't have to be a big one. Just take the first step. And I promise you, that first step will lead you to the next. So if you take nothing else from this today, I want you to remember, failure is not final. It's the fuel that drives your growth. Your comeback begins with how you respond to adversity. Shift your perspective. Challenges are opportunities in disguise. Reinvention is necessary for your long-term success. Surround yourself with the right people. Your network shapes your future. Every setback is just an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to reinvent yourself. The only thing standing between you and your breakthrough is your willingness to keep moving forward. So if today's episode has resonated with you, I want to hear your story. What was your biggest comeback moment? I want you to share it with me. Share it on Instagram, LinkedIn, or wherever you connect with me. And I'll be featuring listener stories in future episodes. And if you're ready to think long term, whether it's in life, investing, or your own reinvention, take a look at what we're building with Godel. Just like in life, smart investing is about resilience. It's about adapting to the ups and downs and staying focused on our long-term goals and growth. That's why assets like gold exist, to provide security in an unpredictable world. And I'm sure we agree, we're all in an unpredictable world. Look, thanks for joining me today. No matter what challenge you face, just remember that you have the power to overcome it. Keep pushing forward through action. Keep reinventing, and you'll keep growing. Until next time, stay resilient.